Hello everyone, my name is Jenny, your IELTS tutor. Thank you so much for watching my videos, especially to my viewers and subscribers in India, Nepal, Uzbekistan, and Vietnam. So in this video, I'll be sharing the sample answers that I have made for this IELTS speaking part 2 topic, describe an unforgettable bike trip. This is the complete topic. Describe an unforgettable bike trip you had. You should say when it was, where you went, who you were with, and explain why you think it was unforgettable. Remember, you are going to talk about the past here, so be careful with your verb tenses. Your answers actually don't really matter in the IELTS speaking exam as long as you avoid going off topic. Remember that you should not sound very shy. Instead, sound confident, sound sharp. Just enjoy the chat with the examiner. No need to sound too formal or too serious, okay? The IELTS examiner don't care about the knowledge that you have. They're not testing you based on your knowledge. They're actually grading you based on your confidence, how you showcase your language skills. Okay? And also, you have to use, complex words as well, such as idioms, collocations, and topic-related words. You need to show to the examiner that, you pronounce words like a native speaker and your pronunciation is accurate and clear. And of course, when it comes to grammar, you need to avoid making a lot of grammar mistakes. Okay? So let us begin. I've also made sample answers for part 3. Let's read the sample answer for part 2 first. Do some shadowing. Out of all the bike trips that I've had before, the bike trip with my friends and I took the cake. Honestly, biking was not a normal activity for me because my parents didn't buy me a bike. After school, I just play a bit with my neighbors and go home. Fortunately, my parents took me to the rural area to spend my school break there. If my memory serves me right, it happened when I was 12 years old. I went to my grandparents' house in the countryside and it was such a memorable experience because I had a blast during that time. The kids in the neighborhood were so friendly and they invited me to ride the bike. I will never forget that bike trip because of many reasons. First off, it was so exciting and tiring at the same time because the road is so bumpy. In my grandparents' hometown, there were no developed bike lanes yet. So my friends and I rode our bikes and it was physically demanding. I had to struggle going to some elevated areas. It was so enjoyable because I saw a lot of breathtaking views. In the countryside, there were so many greens simply because the place was not modernized yet. So it was such a fun ride. Finally, I was so worn out after the bike trip. I felt like my legs were sore. But despite my sore body, I was over the moon because that was the first time I went biking with other kids. If given an opportunity, I would love to try biking again because I think it's such a good exercise. So I've highlighted the words here that you can use in your exam. So out of all, it just basically means among. Now, this is an idiomatic expression, took the cake, or if you're talking about the present or the future, you can say takes the cake. What does it mean? This idiomatic expression simply means something or someone that's remarkable. Okay? So, and then I recommend that you try to use adverbs. Fortunately, adverbs like definitely, certainly, absolutely. Adverbs make your answer stronger. It makes your opinion stronger. Okay? Now, every time you're talking about the past, I recommend you use this if my memory serves me right. You can also say, as far as I can recall. Alright? Had a blast. This is another idiomatic expression, which just simply means had fun. Okay? Instead of saying, I had fun, you can say I had blast. I had a blast, I mean. Okay? And then I recommend that you try to use discourse markers. What are examples of discourse markers? Firstly, secondly, finally. Instead of saying firstly, you can use first off. Okay? Now, you also have to use some topic-related words. So, since we're talking about biking, one way or another, we'll be talking about roads. So to describe the road, we can use this expression. The road was so bumpy. There were no developed bike lanes yet. It was physically demanding. This is a good expression. Okay, elevated areas. Instead of saying there were a lot of beautiful places, you can say breathtaking views. All right? There were a lot of trees, flowers, plants. You can say there were so many greens. Okay? Instead of saying I was so tired, you can say I was so worn out. Right? Instead of saying even though, although, you can say despite. Instead of saying I was very happy, try to replace it with an idiomatic expression. I was over the moon. Okay? Notice that I always use idiomatic expressions. Why? It's actually one of the technical requirements to get 7 and above. If you want to get 7 and above in IELTS speaking, you need to use idiomatic expressions. If you review the IELTS band descriptors, the IELTS organization requires test takers to include idioms in their answers. However, if you only need to get 6, well, you don't need to use an idiom. Okay, but of course, the higher the score, the better, right? Now, instead of saying if I have a chance, if I have an opportunity, it would be better to say if given an opportunity. Okay? So, try to use complex words. It's very important, but it's more important to speak fluently, to speak in a friendly way. Okay? To speak in a confident and natural way. All right? Now let us continue with part 3. Please read with me. Do you think biking is a good way of exercise? Yes, absolutely. I strongly believe that biking is a good way to work out. It's a physical activity, so it's beneficial for our health because it can improve our circulation. Aside from that, it can build our endurance and it's a good way to lose weight. It can also improve our emotional and mental health because we usually feel better after we ride our bike. So as I've said a while ago, include adverbs. Absolutely. Okay, so if your answer is yes, it would be better that you develop your answers, right? So how do you develop your answers? There are many ways how to develop your answer. So support your answer or develop your answer either by explaining more, giving reason, or giving an example. Okay? Now, instead of saying also, try to replace it with aside from that. Alright? Now let's move on to the next question. Do you think children should learn biking? Yes, absolutely. I believe that they need to learn how to ride a bike. And it's mainly because it can improve their balance. Aside from that, it's a good physical activity so they can avoid gaining weight. As we all know, most kids these days are inactive because of smartphones and computers. If they know how to bike, it can encourage them to be active. Right? In part 3, 3 sentences or more are highly encouraged. Okay? Do not give 1 or 2 sentences only. It's a no-no. The longer you speak, the better. There are instances that the IELTS examiner would cut you off. They will interrupt you, but don't worry, don't be bothered. Your score should not be affected with it. Okay? It doesn't matter. Let's move on to the next question. I've prepared 2 sample answers. Do people in your country often travel by bike? Yeah, I think so. I believe people in my country always travel by bike. We have bike lanes and I can see a lot of people biking in the park or in other places. However, if we need to go to farther places, then traveling by bike is not suitable because it's obviously exhausting. People would rather take buses or subways. Sometimes it depends on the distance. Okay? And then the other sample answer. Do people in your country often travel by bike? Well, I think it depends on how far they are going. If it's just a short trip, I think some Koreans would travel by bike because they can save money on gas. However, if it's a long distance trip, obviously they won't use a bike since it would be tiring. They would rather take cars, buses, or subways. Okay? By the way, I am currently teaching Koreans. So that's why I'm using Koreans here as my subject. Okay? But of course, you can change this. So I've prepared 2 sample answers. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer the first one or the second one? I prefer the second one. Okay. Now let us continue the last question. Which is more convenient, biking or driving? Well, personally, I would say that driving is more convenient. And it's simply because I can go outside regardless of the weather. Aside from that, cars can carry more passengers. Although biking is economical, it's cheap, and it's good for the environment, I think it's not suitable if I'm going to far places and I will travel with many people. Okay, so you can choose biking is more convenient or driving is more convenient, or you can choose both. Yeah, in my case, it depends on where you're going or how far you're going, right? And that makes sense. So, anyways, that would be all for today. If you have any question, suggestion, or comment, just feel free to comment below. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.